Hi, this is Everett, Everett's Watercolors. Welcome to my studio. And today we're going to have a watercolor demonstration. And I'm in my studio today. I'm broadcasting to LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and also later on to Instagram. And then I'm in my studio today with my wife Gloria,
Welcome, everyone.
and she'll be monitoring the chat room and watching the broadcast. And the chat room's live, so if you have a comment or a question, put them down there, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And if this is the first time you've seen my broadcast, give me a thumbs up and a like, and give me some comments. It helps with my rating. Appreciate it very much. Now today I'm going to be talking about design, and design today is going to be about shapes and sizes, which is a very important aspect of a painting. So let me go over to my painting table and let me do you some more definitions of that. Overhead camera. Okay, now this is my design chart, which I've shown several times before in the past couple weeks. And today in my design, I'm going to talk about shape and also size. Okay, and those are the two elements I'm going to talk about today. Previously, I've talked about the value, color, and texture, and today it's going to be shape and size. Okay, and so let's talk about why they're so important and so forth. This is another good reference book I have here by Tony Couch, Watercolor, You Can Do It. And I want to just turn the page. I'm going to give you a little information on the very first page of his book. In chapter 1, he talks about the artist's role. And let me read this to you. It says, now he was a student of Edgar Whitney, and he did a lot of workshops with him, so he really has a lot of information about how Whitney taught, and he uses his principles and so forth in his book. So this is very important. I'll quote both from Edgar Whitney and from Tony Couch. "We are shape makers, symbol collectors, and entertainers." Now that's an accurate description of what the watercolorist is about as he paints. So I think it's a very good description of what we do when we do paint. Now, shapes is we're talking about here now is there's some real shapes that you want to try to avoid. The ones that are good, and also very many artists talk about this, is you want to avoid rectangular or square shapes, circular shapes, and the three-sided equal triangle shapes. Now, those are bad shapes because there's no variety. They're all the same sizes on each side. There's no difference in the circle, and there's no difference in the triangle. They're all equal. So that's why they're really trying to avoid those shapes in a painting. So those are shapes we're going to talk about today also a little bit. Now I've got some examples here. On the last weekend, I took some pictures here of some things that I found to be poor shapes. And here's a good example. Here's some shrubbery up here, and they're circular shape, but also they're the same. There's no variety in the shape, and there's no variety in the elements themselves. Here's an example here of a square, and also the rectangular shape. There's very boring because there's no variety there. The same way over here. And also I got a little triangle form over here. Now we go down to another form. Here you got this row of trees. They're shaped like triangles. And they also have a triangular shape in their position. This is equal sizes down here. Here's another configuration. Now these may be all different, but they form a triangle on the bottom here and a triangle across the top. And here's one here right straight ahead. There's an edge along the bottom here, straight, and then there's a straight edge across the top here. So that's even though you may be painting a shape you think of, you may fall into a trap of actually coming up with a bad shape overall. So that's the things you try to avoid, is getting the boring shape or shapes that fit those descriptions right there. Now here's my reference photograph today, and I was out last weekend taking some photographs, and this is a photograph I came up with, and you can see here there's lots of different shapes here on this particular building. This is one building, but it has all kinds of shapes to it. And right down here, though, this one area right here, it's a rectangular shape, so that's the only area that's boring. So another thing we do, and what I call myself, is that the shape should be either angular, it should be curvular, or it should be rectangular. And what I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to change the shape down here. So what I call myself a shape changer. When I develop a painting, I can make changes as an artist. I can make changes to a shape. So what I did here was I redrew the bottom part of the photograph. Now let me go back here. Let me get the picture out of the way. So here's my design drawing, which I took from the photograph, and I got the shape that I like. But then this shape here at the bottom, this square shape here, a rectangular shape, I want to change it. So what I did was I redrew that. So I redrew some other shapes in there to make it more interesting. Okay, let me bring it up to you and show you what I did. Up nice and close. Okay, and you wonder, well, how did I do that? Well, what I did was I went back and I took some more photographs. And behind that, behind this container box here, I went around the side and I could see the edge of the side, and I could look back and see the building, how it was shaped in the behind the box. And then I went down to the far end, of the building, and I took another photograph of a close-up. And I got a much better angle and a much better information about what's going on down here. So by taking more than one photograph and walking around the subject, I was able to find a more interesting angle. And this is how I came up with this shape here of the stair steps, the bottom here, and this area over here. I reshaped that from the photograph. I could see it much better. Okay, so I call myself a shape changer. We're shape collectors and we are shape painters. So what I did now is I transferred this. Let me show you my next step. I transferred that to my painting paper, which is a quarter sheet of Gemini watercolor paper, which measures 15 inches long and 11 inches wide. 11 inches from here to here and 15 from here to here. 15 by 11. Quarter sheet of Gemini 140-pound cold press watercolor paper. And what I did was I did a value study here. I'm gonna paint this area, but I'm also gonna put in some shadows because I got the light coming in from the foreground, and it's going to be shadows coming from the left side, on the left side of the shapes. And I'm going to use different colors here at the bottom. Let's go over the color structure I'm going to use. I'm going ahead now. This is going to be a little bit not probably unusual to a lot of you. But I'm going to be using multiple colors. I'm going to be using blue, I'm going to be using violet, burnt sienna brown, I'm going to be using yellow, green, and blue again. And I'm going to use those different colors, and I'm going to darken them up for the shadows over here. So that's going to be my color scheme. So I've got ultramarine blue in the palette up here at the top, ultramarine blue. I got Quinacridone Violet here on the left side, that's the violet. I got burnt sienna down here at the bottom. And then I'm going to use yellow lemon, a little bit of yellow deep down here for my yellow. I'm going to use green number 1 down here for my greens, green number 1. And then for the sky, and when I put the sky in, I'll be using cerulean blue up here in the top left. Okay, so that's my color scheme, and this is my value study, which I always do after I do a sketch, so I know where the darks and lights are. And then I'm going to go ahead and paint this. All right, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to mix up a little bit of this ultramarine blue. And I'm going to start, this is going to be the first layer I'm going to put in is going to be a light layer of color. So I'm going to have ultramarine blue, mix up a nice little puddle over here. And I'm going to paint in this section over here. I'm going to start here at the left side with ultramarine blue. I'm going to paint right across the site, right across the shape. What I have here, and I wanted to show this to you. I'll show this to you in a few minutes here. I'll show you another angle, another thing I'll think about, and I'll talk about that in a second. But I'm going to, and I'll review that. I'm looking at sizes, I'm looking at shapes, and now I'm painting the color in. We've already covered color a long time ago, so this color scheme is going to be a little bit new and a little bit different. This is called, I'm going to put a colorful wash. I'm going to put a colorful wash across this subject matter. Now, again, I'm going to put the ultramarine violet. I'm going to mix a little bit of ultramarine blue with that to give it more of a purple. Oh, cool. This is the cool area, the cool colors here on the left. So I'm going to start up here. I'm going to go in. Now, notice I'm going to go here. I'm just going to shape. I'm going to paint in the shape, the outline, the contour. But I'm going to go ahead and put the whole shape in with the same color. Okay, now the next color I'm going to pick up a little bit of one of my favorite colors here, burnt sienna. And maybe it makes a little bit of yellow. I may make a little bit of yellow orange in there. I want a nice bright color now. So now I'm getting into the warm. I started with the cool colors, the blues and the violets. Now I'm going to work into the warm colors. So this is more warm. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to wipe right over that. Going to merge those colors together. I'm trying to keep this a light value. Go down partially down here. Okay, now I'm going to pick up my next color, which is going to be yellow. So I got yellow lemon down here at the corner. And I pick up a little bit of yellow deep. Give me a nice yellow color. And that's the next color. I'm going to stay in a warm area. And I'm going to what I do is I'll merge that over with the other color. Just take it right over the top of the other. And merge it together. That's going to blend it together as one color. I put the yellow right over the top of the burnt sienna. Just let it merge. A little more yellow. And I'm using different sizes, also sizes of the color. They're not all the same. Some are larger, some are smaller. So that's again another element here in the drawing, in the painting. Trying to get a variety of shapes and sizes, also in the shapes of the colors. Now my next color is going to be green number 1, here at the bottom. I want to keep it light, so I'm putting a little more water, mixing a little more water with it. Now I'm going to go start with the green. So I'm mixing the green in with the yellow now, overlapping, blending it. So as long as they're wet, they're gonna match together very nicely. And you'll notice that if you look at my scheme here, I'm actually following the color wheel. I'm starting with the cool colors, and then I'm picking up the warmer colors now. Now I'm going back into cooler now. I'm going from yellow into green, which is going into the cooler area again. So what I'm doing is I'm kind of following the color wheels for my color scheme. Now this last one I'm going to pick up. I'm going to circle back now and pick up ultramarine again. Light mix, light color. So what I've done, I've circled, made the whole circle now, going from cool to warm, back to cool. And I'm going to finish off with this blue, ultramarine blue. Let it mix with the green. It'll give me a bluish green. Okay, that's going to finish my color scheme now, of going from cool to warm to cool again. And I'll finish this off to take it on out to the end of the there we go. Okay, and okay, there's a little white spot there, but I'm not going to touch it. Just leave it alone. Now I'm going to go ahead and dry this now. I'll put the dryer on. So I'm going to dry this because it's wet. So what I did was I took this shape, what I call was a good shape with different angles and so forth at the top and at the bottom, and then I mixed up what I call a colorful wash, and I decided to start with the cool color first, ultramarine blue, then went into Quinacridone Violet, then into burnt sienna, orange, yellow orange. I went into more yellow with yellow lemon, then picked up the green number 1, then moved back into ultramarine blue again at the end. So this colorful wash will give me a very interesting color combination, a variety of colors to complement with the variety of shape. Make sure it's dry before I put. I'm going to put a dark layer on now, which is going to be. I'm going to use my color, my value study, and I'm going to put it in the dark areas, which will give me contrast and it'll give me some shape definition, define some of the areas of the subject. Okay. Now, one thing I wanted to show you before I went any further on that. Let's see. Now I'm missing a piece of paper. I had a paper hidden in here. I guess I hid it in here. I'm looking for something I wanted to show you. I can't find it. Let me see if I can find it. This was kind of what I wanted to show. Let me find it. I'm looking for it, searching for it, and so far I've lost it. Here, oh, it's on the floor. Let me pick it up. Okay, here it is. Okay. Let me give my drawing back again on the manual. Yeah. Okay. So let's go back to my drawing now. I took the drawing and I changed the shape. And the real lesson here is what I'm working with. I'm working with 3 shapes. So this is really size now. So when I develop a painting, I think about sizes. I got in the middle ground here will be the main shape of the object that I'm painting, but I also have to worry about the negative shapes. The sky is a negative shape around the building, and it has to be a different size than this shape here. and the foreground is here, and it has a shape, and it has to be a different size than this. So you want different sizes of the shapes. So here, if I look at it correctly, and I can move things around a little bit, that this is the main shape I have. This is a smaller shape up here, and then down at the bottom is a larger shape. So large, medium, and small shapes of the particular paint. So when I look at an area or look at a design, such as a landscape or even a still life, I look at the positive and the negative shapes for the painting to make sure they're all different sizes, small, medium, and large in this case here. Okay, sorry about that. I dropped my shape on the ground and I had to go find it again. Okay, so if you'll notice here that the shape above is small compared to this, and the area down here is going to be larger. And of course, when I frame it, I can frame it so that that will come out anyway. So that's part of the design, is to not only make an interesting shape, but also make sure your shapes are different sizes, not the same. Don't make them equal. Remember I was showing those 3 bushes, the round bushes. There were 3 round bushes, but they were all the same shape, but they're also the same sizes, which makes them boring. Okay. Okay. So now what I'm going to do now, I'm going to add in the values. So over here, let's see, where's my value study now? Do I have my value study? I have a value study somewhere. That's not, no, it's a page. Here it is. Here we go. Okay, here's my value study. So I'm going to go ahead and start adding in the dark areas now on the building. So I did a value study, so I know where I'm going to put my darks. Okay, so over here on the blues now, I'm going to start with the blue again. Now it started blue, so I'm going to use blue up to this point. Then I'm going to change colors again. So I have to make sure what I'll do. I'm going to use the same color I have there, but a darker value. So I'm going to start with a darker blue. So I start with ultramarine blue. I'm going to add a little bit of royal blue to that. Royal blue will make it much darker. So I'm adding royal blue to that mix. Now I'm going to paint that. I'm going to paint that shape in, and I'm going to start up here at the top of the shape. Now this particular shape has windows in it, so I'm going to leave some spaces. I'm going to leave some areas open. I can come down here. This part is blue, so what I'm doing is I'm putting in the same color that I put down originally. So if it's a light blue, I get a dark blue on top of that. I'm going to put a darker value here. So what I'm doing now, I'm painting around. I had some windows on this side over here, so I'm going to paint around those to make it a more interesting final. This is really a painting. That's painting, but it's a painting exercise and also demonstrating shape and also size. So I want it to be special. So I'm going to lay that down. I'm going to pick up a smaller brush, number 8 round, and I'm going to go in and I'm going to paint in the sides here of the windows. Now there's a edge of the building here. I'm trying to be very careful here because I want to save that lighter value that I painted in there, so that it shows through as a window. So I'm being very careful here, being extra careful to follow the shapes that I want to put in there. Okay, I got a few more I want to do here. what I'll do, go ahead and mark those off. Okay, now I'll just paint them in very quickly. So there's a window down here at the end of this shape. There's a window here in the little sort of center area. And there's one here at this end over here. I'll try to square those away a little bit so they make like windows. Okay, all right, that's the only real detail I'm going to have on the building. The rest are going to be pretty easy to put in. Now I'm going to put in the violet, and I'm going to add a little more blue to that violet color. And I'm going to go on over and paint in the what I call the shadow side of this particular shape. Okay. And what I did was I went in, I painted a section. I'm going to take up a tissue here. And I'm going to pick up some of the extra paint I put on this one side. I want to pick that. I want to save that. So I use take a tissue and just make a sharp edge, and I pick that up. Okay. Make a small correction as I paint. So then I want to come down now and pick up this area here. Okay, so I'm filling in. I'm putting in a darker violet color, and I better change into another brush. So these are shadows. These are the shadow edges here inside the entranceway here. But I'm trying to leave the side that's in the light area. I'm painting that, leaving that alone. So I'm just painting around the shadow side around the light. I want to save the light. This is very important. All right, for another piece here I want to show you. So I want to go back. If I overpaint, then I want to pick it up. And I'm blending these two colors together so that they'll merge to better. I don't want to leave any. I don't want to leave any blossoms on here. But in this dark paint, it's not going to show up very well. Anyway, okay, that side's done. Now we're going to go into the burnt sienna area. So burnt sienna, I'm going to take the burnt sienna, the brown. I'm going to add a little bit of Payne's gray to it to darken it up, make it a dark brown. And I'm going to paint the shadow side of this. I'm following my value sketch, my value study, and I'm putting in the shadow pattern. Not the shadow pattern that was on the actual building because the sun wasn't out that strong, but I made up my own plan of where the light was and where the shadow side would be. Okay, now I'm going to go down here and define these steps now. There was a staircase. This is the part we couldn't see because of that large rectangular shape in front. But I showed you I took another photograph and to discover what was behind there. So that's another good lesson there, that when you take a photograph of a subject, you want to walk around and also capture another angle or another position, so that you have a complete record of what you're painting or what you're doing around. You may, as I said, here I had to go back and take another photograph. I knew what was back there, but I didn't have the original photograph when I first did it. So I went back and took another photograph of that building so I could paint the section I wanted. Okay, now we're going to go into the orange, dark yellow here in the next section. So I'll take my half-inch. This is a half-inch Holbein. So that yellow, I'm going to make up a little bit put a little yellow ochre in there, and maybe a touch of burnt sienna to darken it up a little bit. That'll darken up that. It'll be yellow. It'll be more yellow. But it'll be a dark yellow. So that's yellow ochre, a little mixed in with a little bit of burnt sienna to give me a darker value of this yellow section that's in shadow. And you can see what's happening now as I go along. This is breaking up this large mass of shape. So we're getting more definition now of exactly what's there of the buildings. Okay, you can see the buildings starting to split up. Now the green building is another one, a little small one. And I'm going to use, here honey, thank you. There we go. I'm going to use a little bit of Hooker's green now for the darker green. Hooker's green, and maybe a touch of ultramarine blue, because I want that nice and dark. So now I'm going to go in here and put in this shadow on this green section. Next to the lighter value. And I'm going to change brushes again, because it's a small area. So this is a shadow on this one section here, next to this little rooftop. This section here was in shadow. And then that continued on down here. This other part of the building was here. So this building has quite a few faceted areas. And what it is, it's a building is a restaurant, and it's got, of course, different rooms and different areas that they've added on to this particular building. So it makes a fascinating study on the painting the shapes that I saw. And we got one more area for the darks. So the last section I have is this blue area out here. And so I'm going to use that dark blue again. I'm going to go back into ultramarine and with a little bit of royal blue and ultramarine blue. And I'm going to put in this one wall back here, which was in shadow because it was facing the other way. By taking that second set of pictures, I was able to define what the shapes were out here, and to get the angle that was the view from my viewpoint, what was there. And this is like a retaining wall out here that's going to be used for whatever reason. I don't know what the final. I won't know until the building is finished. The building is still under construction. It's been under construction for a couple years, so. But anyway, it's an interesting subject in which to paint, and it also is a great subject here to show how to paint and how to organize a painting with shapes. Okay, now I'm going to go in and do some design, a little bit of detail on some of the structure. Here there's some lines under here I can add. There's a rooftop here. I can add a line in here. A little more definition there. And I can add in this line. This will help define a little bit more of the shape and what's going on. And down here, these steps are very interesting. The steps, I'll put the top level. I'll break this up so it'll be more defined. Define the shapes. Okay. And that one there should go. You see, that's this. I'm going to define the edge of these staircases. Be a little easier to follow. There. Okay. Then over here, I'm going to put a little bit of greenery now. This is the window on this side. I'm going to put this. This was darkened in, so I'm going to put a little bit of value here on this window. There's a window on this particular part of the building here. The window. And it's green, so I'm going to put green in there. And then this building here, there was and I think I'll use that number 8 round brush. Let's see. I'm going to use a little bit of ultramarine. There were windows in this building here. This came down. I'm just going to kind of indicate. A little too dark. I'll put a little more water in the brush. These were windows coming down on this building here, and indicate there was something there. There's a window. And then I want to define these edges more. So I'm going to start out with a little bit of green here. These are the top edges of these structures. Start out with a green, and pick up a little bit. Staying with the color code here. I've got blue now, so I'll switch from green to blue. Staying with the color. If I have blue, I'm going to use blue on the second coat. And then this one there, that's blue here. So this is blue. There's a little bit of section here. Break that up. And then there's a little bit of shadow. There's a roof on this window here. I put a little bit of texture, a little bit of definition here on that window. This window has an edge, so I can put a little bit of edge on that. On the green, I can put a little bit of shadow under this window. And let's see. Out here on the blue, I can put the trim on here. I think I'll put a trim out here. Break this up a little bit. And there's a shadow. There's a little roof on this section out here, so I'll put a little shadow underneath. Not too dark, just enough to show a shadow. Okay. Let's see. I think I about finished it off. Okay. All right. All right. So that is the breakup of the building. You can see here the different angles and the dimension. The sun was coming. I'm assuming the sun was coming. This is the front part of the building here, and the side is the dark side of the building. So that kind of breaks up and shows you the dimensions. That shows you the dimensions of the building itself. Okay. Now to finish it off, let me dry this because it's wet. I'm going to dry. Let's talk about what I did. So I went in and I mixed a darker value for another layer on top of what I started. So I started with a blue layer here, and I put a darker blue layer on top. And here I put a violet tone here, and I covered with a darker value. Here was a burnt sienna. I put in a yellow, darker yellow. And the same with a darker green. And back here, the darker blue. I'll make sure it's nice and dry. Okay, now, here's the fun part. I'm going to put paint on the sky, and I'll paint on the foreground real fast. So we're going to turn this around, and I'm going to let me put some clips on this so it doesn't move. I'm going to put a clip on the corner here, and a clip on the corner here. I'll use these bull nose. They're called bull nose clips. But put that down here and pull the paper together. Now I'm going to paint the sky, and what I'm going to do here now, I'm going to mix in my just a little tray, a little dish. I'm going to mix. I've mixed cerulean blue. So what I'm going to do now is just take up a little bit of cerulean blue, and I'm going to load the brush. I'll use the large goat hair from silver brush with lots of water. Lots of water. Let me test that out first. Let's see, do I have paper? Yeah, let me see. Okay, that's my sky. All right, so let me start up here, and I'm going to go across here and do the sky. And let me turn this around. Now see, you know what? Leave that alone. That's not the sky. The sky is down here. I'm upside down. Okay. Let it dry. No problem. The foreground is going to be darker anyway. So I'm going to start here in the bottom, which is the sky. Now I'm going to come up here. I'm going to come up here next to the edge here now, and put this background in next to this wash. And I'm going to come down here about part way to about where the background would start. I'll show us a little horizon line over here. So I'm using this large goat hair from silver brush, my hake brush, hake, my hake brush from silver brush, to put in the simple. Now this is a warm now. This is a warm color, and you can see here it's going against warm color, cool color against this warm is also a nice combination. Blue sky against this yellow or orange will give a nice contrast. Nice big brush strokes. And I'm also doing, in my last class we talked about textures, and if you want to check that, was a good class on that. You want to look at my videos. I got another video on design on textures. And there we talked about smooth texture, and so I have a wet brush on a dry surface. That'll give me a smooth texture. So I want the sky to be smooth. I don't want to have any texture in the sky. And I'm not going to put any clouds up here. So I'm just going to be and the sky was bare that day when I took the photograph too. So I'm going to leave it alone. And the sky can be a little bit darker at the top than the bottom. So I'll put just another couple of brush marks over here. Okay. Now what I do now is let that dry just a little bit, and I'm going to run a tissue along the bottom here to pick up any excess moisture coming down. So for this, I've got this board at about a 15-degree angle, so I want it to run down toward the bottom here. So I'm holding it at about an angle and letting it run down. I'm picking it up with the tissue. Okay. Pick this up. I'm going to pick up this excess moisture back here. Okay. All right, I think I'll do a quick dry on that. Just a quick dry, just so it doesn't move on me. So I'm going to do a quick dry. Turn this around. keep it at an angle so it's still running down. So I get the blow dry on it I want to set the paint as much as possible, at least to get a pretty good drying. I don't have to fully dry it, but just to get it about halfway so I can do the foreground. Okay. Now the shine is gone, so it shouldn't move on me. Okay. Just check the shine. When you see a shine on the paper, then you know it's still wet. So the shine is gone, so this paint is not going to move. So now in the foreground, I'm going to move these clips off here. Okay, in the foreground, it's going to be, let's talk about that. I'm going to do a different brush. It's going to be another Ocher brush. It'll be smaller. And I'm going to paint a little texture down here. And how I'm going to start that is that blue I already got in the brush. I'm just going to take the Ocher brush. I'm just going to wipe it across the palette, and I'm going to come across here. Now, a rough surface like this foreground is, which had rocks and so forth in it, and sand and asphalt. It was not very smooth, so it was rough. So I'm going to do a rough texture. So I drag a wet brush across a dry surface. So I mean, it's in comparison to the paper itself, this is dry paint compared to the paper. So really, a dry brush mark on top of a dry paper will give me a texture. And you can see the rough marks I have here, okay? So now I'm going to come up here and I'll make sure I get a nice little, I'm going to put a dark edge around the building itself. So I'll come up here with the Ocher. Getting up right next to the building. I don't want to leave any white paper. This is all, most of the stuff's in shadow back here, or has an edge to it. And then over here, do the same thing. I'm just pulling my brush through the paint. This is a good way to use up your excess paint too. So we don't waste any paint in the painting. Just use up what you have. Use this for the foreground. You could also use it for the background. I'm going to come up here and I'm going to put a little horizon up here just behind the building, where the ground is. So define the horizon. And I'll leave some white paper showing too, because there was some light areas on the surface, so I'll leave that there. And using horizontal strokes, covering up that, I've already covered up that blue wash I did in the beginning. You know, it's amazing when you're doing a painting, you figure out, where am I in the painting? I was starting to paint the sky, and I wound up doing the foreground. Okay, let me blow dry that give me about a minute on that one, or half a minute. Okay, so I've already talked about the sky. I did a wet, really not a wet on wet, but it was a wet brush on dry paper, which gave me a smooth surface. And then down here, I tried like a half dry brush on top of dry paper, which gave me some rough texture, which gave me a dry brush marks and so forth. What I do is I dry it enough to get the shine off the paper. That way, I know the paint's not going to move around. And what I'll do now is take the let me take the 3/4 inch brush. And I'm going to go around the edge here and just darken it up just slightly. I want there to be an edge. I want this to be a rough, I want not to be a common edge. I want it to be a different edge than what the building is. I want it to be a different edge than what's on the surface. So I'm going to make it give us some texture. Also a little bit of difference here at the bottom. And I'll drag my brush across there to smooth that out. And put some darker marks along here. It's not all even. It's different different textures here, or different colors down here. So I'm just kind of doing marks across here to give it a difference, a different look, a more textured look. And I could put spray bottles on here and do some splattering and so forth, but I'm just going to leave it alone. Okay, just going to leave it rough. I just put a mat around it. Here, come up here with a darker mat, and let's see, I'll put a mat around that, and voila. Now, okay, I hope a lot of you were surprised at how this is going to turn out with that colorful wash across the building, and then the darks on top of that. They give me the shadow patterns, and then the light sky and the dark foreground, smooth sky, rough foreground, cool sky. Like there's some browns down here, so it's got a warmer tone down here, but it's still dark. Okay, and I think it really shows that building off. Very different way to paint. Very different way to paint. I did another one earlier, but I don't think it's any different. This is far enough to go with this. So if you have any questions or comments, please give me a comment. I'd love to hear from you how you liked the video, and I'll see you next week. Let's go back to the main camera. Let me get set up here first. Hi, it's Everett. Everett's Watercolors, having another good time. And today we worked on shapes and sizes. And it's very important in a painting. You decide what your shapes are. The prominent shape, here was 3 shapes: the building, the sky, and the foreground. Those are the 3 main shapes that I worked on. And then the middle ground, of course, was that building, and I broke that up into different shapes using not texture, but broke it up with a shadow pattern. First of all, put a nice colorful wash down there. Something you probably haven't seen. You can paint buildings and trees and landscapes, or even on still life. You can paint it whatever color you want, as long as it's interesting and unique. And that way, you don't get in trouble by copying anything, because there's nothing there that was copied. It's all brand new. So I really enjoyed that. I'll be back again next week on Facebook and YouTube and LinkedIn. I'll be back next week on Thursday at 2:00 p.m. This evening I'll be back tonight at 7:30 p.m. with Simply Drawing with Everett. And tonight we'll do a drawing, and I think you'll like it. It's going to be a freehand drawing. I'm going to have a subject I like in front of me, and we're just going to start drawing it. And I'll show you how I do it, and hopefully you'll join along with me and have some fun. So I'll see you at 7:30 this evening on Simply Drawing with Everett. And then I have a weekend little video on Sundays I put out. Will be anyone can draw with one line only. And it's a lot of fun. I think you'll enjoy that one also. That'll be released on Sunday after midnight. So I'll see you all next week. You all stay safe, and hey, enjoy the weather. The weather's beautiful outside. I painted out yesterday. I'm going to go paint out. I'm going to paint out this weekend. It may rain a little bit, but you know, I get out there before the rain drops, and rain doesn't bother me. The weather's going to be comfortable. It's going to be warm enough. So just have a good time and go out and paint. If you can't paint, at least draw. Do some sketching. I recommend that. So until next week, I'll see you then. So, bye.